Hi, I'm Bodie Pendus. Today, we're going to build this table. Not just any table, but the Instagram Builders Challenge number 7. So I have a pile of wood and I got to select what I think is going to look best for this table. Instagram Builder Challenge, the key is wood selection. So we got legs and we have the drawer fronts for the sides selected. And down here we have the top edges, sides and front and back. I have a small shop and I don't have a joiner. So this is my method to joint an edge of lumber. So I put it on my table saw. If it's relatively flat on one side, even though it may be rough cut, and I take one side of it and make a nice light pass. I do it a second time to make sure that I cut this flat enough to where I have a good edge. And if necessary, I'll even do it a third time to make sure that I can have it where it is flat enough to where I can flip that side up against the fence as I'm doing here and cut a flat surface on that side. And I'm done when I have flat and parallel surfaces. I take the hickory that I have selected for the drawer fronts and the top and run it through the planer to get it nice and smooth and to the right thickness for use. Okay, here are my side panels after they've been run through the planer and the legs. Ready to just cut them up. Can't see no one, can't see no one. I'm alone at home, to the bone. Could use a phone. 'Cause all these people are getting crazy, including all my parents. So here's a tip on getting two pieces of wood exactly the same size. So I'm attempting to cut this wood in half. The reality is one's going to be a little bit bigger than the other. Put them together, take the smaller one, put it back up against the fence, and then move it, slide your fence over to the saw, and then that's the smaller piece, that's the reference. You don't measure the board, you reference the board. So you take that out, and you get your second piece and you trim it just enough to that precise size as the other. Now you have two boards exactly the same size. I'm alone at home. Can't see no one. Then I use the same technique to cut the other side of the frame. Alright, here's the top of the table. So the next step is to take a 1/2 inch plywood and cut a section that I'm going to glue my 1/4 inch walnut plywood to. So I glue that into it to make a 3/4 inch plywood insert. This is a rough cut. We'll glue it up and then we'll cut it to final dimensions to make sure it matches the top. Then I'll start working on the half laps for the frame top. So you just take the pieces, measure it, mark it, cut the half lap, make sure you get the right depth exactly right, and then just cut away. Here's the actual dry fit of the plywood. Okay, to drill my dowel holes in the frame for the legs, I have my dowel jig clamped down in here. I have one clamp going across. Keep this thing the right distance, have a 1/4 inch spacer in here to get this the right distance. So we're going to drill this one here. So the next step is to drill the holes into the top of my legs. So this is how I do this. So I put it in my vise and I get down here and make sure my leg is perpendicular exactly according to my bubbles. Tighten that guy up. Then I'm going to mark the corner, or rather the center of my leg. Take my brass point bit, put it exactly in the center, and drill away. All right, here's a dry fit for the top and the sides. We got 3 of the sides in. Making the sides deeper because I couldn't bear to cut off that wonderful color of the wood. So the back's kind of plain. And we gotta put that last side in. So I have my glue up going on my first pair of legs. This is the front panel that's in there for spacing. I've put my right angle on here to make sure that leg is straight, and this keeps the legs spaced apart over there, and that one's straight. So I had to nail, or rather hammer, the dowels through the holes up, then put the legs in, glue them like that. So I'm only doing 2 right now, not stretching my luck that I could do all 4 of them at one time. It may take a little longer, but that way I'll ensure I can get them in and dry and straight. That's the important part. Here I'm showing the insert assembly into the top. But what I also don't show is that the pocket hole screws depth was cut incorrectly, and I had to later come back and take out the pocket hole screws and just glue in the top because they actually came through the top side. I had to do a little repair work, but it worked out fine. Here I am preparing the handle, which is made of spalted pecan. So I'm sanding it to get it smooth and get the shape just right. It turned out amazing. I'm really pleased with that. For the drawer assembly, I use a small dado cut in the front panel and a dado cut in the side panels to hold the back in place. It works nicely. The drawer bottom is assembled and the cabinet's complete. The cabinet's complete. Let's show it to you. Notice the continuous grain from the side panel wrapping all the way around the front, all the way around to the right side. So let's show you how the drawer works. Now all we have left to do is put some finish on it. So I just finished putting the second coat of lacquer on my table. So let me point out the differences I have in this table versus what the plans called for. First thing is going to be a taper. I started at the apron and tapered it all the way down to the bottom on 2 sides instead of just one as the plans called for. It makes for a nice, sleek look down to a 1-inch square leg at the bottom. The second item, it called for a 1/2-inch dowel joinery at the top. I used 3/8 inch dowel because I had a dowel cutter that was 3/8 of an inch, and I wanted to use the contrasting walnut dowels to accentuate the joinery. The third item is I have a walnut inset in the top, a walnut plywood inset, as well as having a walnut inside on the drawer bottom. And the next item I have is going to be this drawer pull. So this drawer pull is made out of spalted pecan. Same coloring as the hickory, but has a very interesting pattern, I think, that accentuates the drawer pull. And the last item is the depth of the aprons and the drawer fronts. So it called for about 4.5 inch, and I'm real closer to a 6 inch. Actually 6 1/4. And so my 6 1/4 inch, because this hickory had so much coloring in it, I wanted to be able to retain that. So I had the sapwood and the heartwood in here. It makes for a nice contrast. And so I said I'm going to use all of that I can to be able to get that around. And I have a continuous grain from the left side to the front, which is the drawer, over here to the right side. So those are the differences I have from the plans. Hope you enjoy the table.
I'm alone at home, can't see no one.
So a drawer has walnut plywood as well as the top. This is made out of hickory, oak legs, and this has a spalted pecan drawer pull. So if you liked our video, give us a thumbs up. Like to see more of our builds, consider subscribing down below. And as usual, come back and see us real soon.